Today's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Vegas? Happy Hump Day. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us on a Wednesday. Oh, yeah. A lot to get over, or go over, I should say. In the news of politics, sports, you name it. We even throw in a little bit of OJ news today. That's right. We got a little bit of everything for you.
We better.
Thanks for joining us, and let's give a quick rundown on what we're going to be doing today. We'll get to Mark Amodei in a second, or as I like to call him, the Yellow Coward. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We're going to go over the Alexander Vindman attacks, including those on Fox News, including, as I like to call her, the witch, or the racist witch, Laura Ingraham. Yes, that's right. Many people on the right are going after this man, a Purple Heart war hero. It is absolutely and positively disgusting. So we'll get to that. Also, Amy Vanderpool from the BBC will be joining us in hour number 2 to break down what is the latest on the impeachment inquiry. What is the latest on it? So we'll get that from her. Did you hear this story? It's crazy. Joe Biden, no communion for him in church. It involves his take on abortion. Him being, you know, we'll get to that. I don't want to get too deep into it. However, the state of Alabama, well, guess what? Those nutty abortion laws that they were putting in place, guess what? They're not in place now. Thank God. Some logical people got involved and said, no. You're not going to put a woman in jail if she gets an abortion. That is absurd. So we'll talk about that in hour number 2. Hour number 3, this is a touching story, and it's a man that I know pretty well. In fact, I used to ref some of his basketball games in an adult league, and he's a former UNLV legend, and he's been the color analyst for UNLV basketball for a long time. Sadly, he recently had a stroke. So we're going to get John Sandler on. He is the play-by-play guy for UNLV basketball to talk about how can you help the family? Because Robert Smith, he's not doing too good, last I heard. So how can you help the family, raise some money to help the family get Robert Smith through this very difficult time? So Sandler will be joining us in hour number 3. Oh, boy, do we have a lot to talk about. World Series Game 7 tonight. Does it get more exciting than this? Boy, the game last night was awesome. It really was awesome. There was a little bit of controversy involved. We had a manager get thrown out, and Washington extends to Game 7. We'll talk about that and a little bit of rule interpretation, too. A really weird and bizarre call in the game yesterday that we're going to analyze and talk about. So that and O.J. Simpson talking a little NFL football on his Twitter. We'll get to that as well. But I want to start with Mark Amodei. If you don't know who Mark Amodei is, and maybe some of you don't because he's done nothing for the state as far as I'm concerned, he's a Republican U.S. rep right here in Nevada. And Mark was one of the first guys to come out on the right and say, hey, let's get. I said to myself, wow, this is really cool. At least he's saying what I think everybody should be saying. Let's just find out what the real truth is. Well, so what happens next? Apparently, Trump snubs him from the campaign, saying, I don't want Mark Amodei campaigning for me for 2020. So what does he do, like most other Republicans do that are in office? Once Trump turns on you, oh, boy, you better wear the Donald Trump knee pads. I'll explain to you exactly what I mean. So he was asked a few questions by CNN's Manu Raju. And by the way, it's important to note that Donald Trump removed him as his campaign chair in Nevada. So Mark Amodei no longer a part of the Trump campaign. So CNN's Manu Raju caught up with Mark Amodei yesterday, asked him some questions about the impeachment inquiry, asked him some questions about the transcript. And I want to play for you this entire exchange. It's not edited at all, and it shows you what a coward and what a piece of garbage Mark Amodei is. We will explain and we will discuss it after the audio. Again, this is CNN's Manu Raju. If you don't like CNN, that's fine, but Manu Raju is one of the most respected reporters in Washington. He does a phenomenal job. Keep in mind, there's not many other members of the media there. It's Manu Raju and a Mark Amodei. Here it is.
The substance of the things that have come out is that the president asked for a public investigation into his rivals, and also Ukraine aid was being withheld. And Bill Taylor testified. No, that's not my conclusion. I'm saying that's what's come out and everything that's
Sounds
going
like
to come
a
out.
conclusion to me, so we disagree on the
The
question.
president has asked for the Ukrainians to investigate the Bidens. Is that okay?
The president has asked for the whistleblower complaint to go through the normal processes, and we've seen nothing of that. So beyond that, when you say that you've made the conclusion or whatever, it's like you're a gifted guy because guess what? It isn't over, and you already know what you think.
The rough transcript, the White House transcript that was released had President Trump asking President Zelensky to open an investigation to the
Do
Biden.
you know if they've even got plans to call the whistleblower? Because I heard they didn't. Now, I don't know if
But
that's
you're not
true.
answering my question about the
No,
substance of the
I
allegation.
disagree with your conclusion. It's a conclusion, not a question.
I'm asking you about what's in the White House
Well,
transcript.
my English teacher says you've got a conclusion. So if you want to interview yourself, go right ahead. You're interviewing
Why,
me.
now, why don't you want to answer the question about is it okay for the president to ask a foreign country to investigate the
Why
Biden?
don't you want to do an interview instead of interviewing yourself?
The president asked on the White House lawn on
Will
the
you
south
answer my question?
on the south lawn of the White House. The president
Okay, I
asked
guess
China
that's
to
a no.
investigate the Bidens. Is that okay?
You know what? If you don't want to interview me, then interview yourself.
I'm asking you a question. If you don't want to answer,
I don't
Is there
understand.
Is there pressure? You don't understand?
Yeah. Thanks for doing the best you could.
Yeah, make no mistake about it, Mark Amodei, you frickin' coward. You totally understand what that question is. But like many other people on the right that wear the Donald Trump knee pads, you're afraid to answer the question because you don't want to upset the President of the United States. By the way, we've reached out to Mark Amodei. We asked him to come on when he spoke out about the impeachment inquiry. We heard that, yeah, maybe he'll come on. They have dodged us ever since because Mark Amodei is a coward. And we don't want cowards on this show. That's who Mark Amodei is. And by the way, what a condescending jerk, too. He brings up his English teacher. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Why don't you interview yourself?
Yeah, I have no problem with him, somewhat deflecting the questions, but doing it this is a Donald Trump supporter speaking here. I am a Republican, but he sounded very, very arrogant to me. I was not happy
to everybody.
I was not happy with the way that with his tone in that particular. It's almost like he didn't know he was being recorded. Just very, very unprofessional. Very, very unbecoming of someone in his particular place.
It's not like Manu Raju asked an out of line question. All Manu Raju was asking him was the substance of the transcript. Do you think it's okay for the President of the United States to ask a foreign entity to open up an investigation of the Bidens? That's in the transcript. It's not like that's being made up. And Mark Amodei brings up his English teacher, and then he says, if you want to interview yourself, go ahead and interview yourself. Oh, thanks for doing a good job. What a jerk you are.
Was this a scheduled interview or was it just kind of on the street?
It doesn't matter
'Cause
what.
he does
It
seem
wasn't
a
on the
little
street.
caught off guard.
It wasn't
But
on the
again,
street.
The way that he really carried himself and his demeanor during that particular interview, I mean, it was kind of disgusting to me.
It
to be
wasn't.
completely honest with
it
you.
wasn't
and
on
again,
the street.
This is a Republican speaking.
This is Mark Amodei walking out of the chambers where the press asks them questions every single day. This is the norm. It's not like somebody walked up to Mark Amodei at a gas station when he's trying to fill up his car with gas. This was a normal thing. Mark Amodei is a condescending jerk, and he's a coward.
All he had to say was no comment. I'm not taking an I'm not answering any
Well,
questions.
that would have
right
been
now.
that would have been a coward too.
No, I mean this was
What do you mean,
significantly
no?
this is significantly worse than that. He could have just not answered the question. And
Well,
and
that
said,
would have
"Hey,
been a coward
I'll
also.
answer at a different time. It doesn't
Okay.
make a difference.
Let me give you the background here again. Okay, Mark Amodei was one of the first Republicans to come out and say he was okay
Right.
with an impeachment inquiry. And then what does the Trump people do? They throw him out as far as campaigning for Donald Trump in Nevada. And I'm sure that hurt Mark Amodei. So now he wants to kiss Donald Trump's ass. That is a coward. Explain this to me, people. Who on earth would vote for this loser? Who on earth would vote for this guy? He has no backbone. He is a coward and he is a piece of garbage.
Or a better question, after hearing that audio, what kind of character do you think this guy has?
He's a condescending jerk, a moron, a coward. I mean, you name it. How difficult is it to answer that question? And then you insult the reporter. This is right out of the Donald Trump playbook. If you don't like the question or you want to avoid the question, then insult it. Insult the person that asked the question. And I'm sick and tired of these Republicans with no backbone. And listen, there are Democrats on the left with no backbone also. I agree with that. But right now we're talking about this specific situation. How many Republicans have gone after Alexander Vindman? How many Republicans are deflecting the question? How many Republicans are saying, we have the transcript right in front of us, and how many Republicans are trying to change history and change what was said in that transcript? It's disgusting. It's outrageous. It's ridiculous. And Mark Amodei is a coward. Quite simply, he's dodging the question. But not only did he dodge the question, Dodging the question would have been walking away or saying no comment. That would have been dodging the question. He did something that's worse than dodging the question. Here's what he did. He actually insulted the reporter constantly.
Well, and you have experience with this. Explain your experience with being a courtroom reporter.
Well, I mean, he's not a courtroom reporter.
Right.
He's a political reporter.
Right.
But it's pretty simple. In many situations,
I mean, you've had situations where you've been outside of a courtroom or outside of something like that, and someone has walked through and you've asked them questions.
Absolutely. And there's some situations where they don't answer, and there's really nothing you can do about that.
Right.
Sometimes they're attorneys.
Exactly.
But this is a different circumstance. This isn't a court of law.
I get that, but there is no recourse for you under those circumstances. But the way that he handled that created...
No, there's recourse.
But the way that he handled that created negative recourse for him, in my opinion. He just handled that terribly.
Well, he handled it awful. But, the bottom line is there is recourse. If I swear at someone walking out of the courtroom, I could be arrested. I could get cited.
No,
There is some recourse.
I'm saying if he decided, when you went to interview someone and they didn't answer your question or they said no comment, there was no recourse for them.
There's really right.
But he created recourse for himself.
Well, because he was a condescending jerk.
I mean, he was you name every single word: patronizing, condescending, arrogant, all of it.
And by the way, what the hell has Mark Amodei done for Nevada?
It wasn't even necessary.
What the hell has this guy done for Nevada, you coward? You know what? We don't want you on our show. What are you going to do, spin? You're going to talk about your English teacher if I ask you about the impeachment inquiry? Oh, I don't understand the question. Yes, you do, you coward. You're just sucking up to Donald Trump because Donald Trump didn't like it, what you said earlier, a month ago, when you said, let's find out what goes on with this inquiry process. You finally showed a little bit of backbone. There's finally one Republican on the right that finally showed a little bit of backbone when it comes to this inquiry. And then what does Mark Amodei do? He curls up like a little girl. He curls up. He puts on his Donald Trump knee pads, and he won't answer the question, and then he's condescending towards the reporter, Manu Raju, who is a very respected reporter. I mean, who on earth in Nevada would vote for this guy? This condescending coward. It is disgusting. Yeah, don't worry about it, Mark. We don't need you to come on the show because clearly you're not going to answer any real questions. Number to call, 702-257-5396 if you want to be a part of this conversation. 702-257-5396. Look, we could agree with or disagree with some of these politicians, the way they answer these questions. We're going to talk about Alexander Vidman coming up in the next segment, how people on the right are attacking this war hero. We'll talk about that, and we can disagree with the way politicians answer questions. I disagree every day, both on the right and the left, the way some of these people answer questions. But it's one thing when we know that a politician is dodging a question and kissing the ass of the president. That's one thing. It's another thing when you're doing that and you're attacking the reporter personally and you're just being a condescending coward. That is exactly who Mark Amodei is. He is a condescending coward, and I could use some other terms on the air, but I don't want to be fined by the FCC. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. Let's start off with Brady this segment. Brady, go ahead.
What's up, Brady?
I want to bring up the point that don't you think that the Bidens have any, I've been like Mr. Trump looking at the Bidens. Don't you think the Bidens did something wrong? And why do you think that Mr. Trump can't look into the former vice president for all his BS that he was doing in Ukraine?
Okay.
Why can't you understand that he was trying to find out what Mr. Biden and Hunter were doing in Ukraine?
I would like to bring up the point, Brady, regardless of whether Joe Biden and his son broke the law and committed crimes or not. And by the way, there's no evidence to support that. But even if they did, it doesn't change of what's going on with the president right now in this impeachment inquiry. I would like to bring up the fact if Joe Biden and his father were criminals and were murderers, it still wouldn't change the fact that the president of the United States asked for help in digging up dirt on Joe Biden.
With that? Don't you think a
Hold on a second. Did you really just say that? Are you really that stupid, Brady? You don't think there's anything wrong? Yeah, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Pot him down, because this guy's so dumb he's not even capable of understanding. You think it's okay? It is your position that you think it's okay for the president of the United States to withhold financial aid to a foreign entity while asking them to dig up dirt on a political opponent. And you're saying right now on the air on a 50,000-watt radio station that you think it's totally fine and it's totally okay, and the only reason why the president brought that up, is because he cares. He cares so much about, people doing illegal things. He cares so much about corruption. Is that your position, Brady? I just want to know.
100%, because the corrupt Democrats need to be exposed from Obama on down.
Okay,
You are
Brady, have a nice day.
scumbag
I've had
Democrat.
enough of your crap. You're just ridiculous. You sound so stupid every single time you call in. It is a joke. What do you guys think about Mark Amadei? That's what I want to know. What do you think about this guy who represents you in Nevada? What do you think about this guy, Mark Amadei, who last month said he was okay with the inquiry process? He wanted to see what happened. What do you think about that? And now a month later, he won't even answer a basic question when it comes to Donald Trump because Donald Trump said, you can't campaign for me anymore in Nevada. What do you think about this guy, Mark Amadei? Does he represent Nevada well, or is he a coward? 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, what's going on?
What's going on is the Democrats who, for years and years, spoke about the Republicans trying to suppress the minority votes, the black votes, are trying, they did a 2-year inquiry into collusion that didn't pan out, and now they're trying to do this latest gimmick. Guess what? I think it's wrong for the Democrats to try and negate the vote of half the American populace.
Hold on a second, Jimmy. You call this a gimmick. All right, hold on. All right, hold on. Let's try to dissect what you just said there. You called this impeachment inquiry. Forgive me if I'm wrong. You called it a gimmick. Is that correct? You're calling it a gimmick? Is that what this is?
More bullshit from the Democrats.
Okay, first of all,
it is.
why don't you learn how to talk on the radio? You can't swear on the radio. That's number one. Number two, you called it a gimmick, okay? We have someone right now, Alexander Vidman, and by the way, there are others. There are war heroes. War heroes, people that are not Republican or Democrat, that are testifying right now. Right now, they are testifying that they had major concerns about this phone call. This guy, Alexander Vidman, this isn't secondhand knowledge. The guy heard the call. The guy risked his life for this country. He won the Purple Heart. And you're calling it a gimmick? Is that the word that you would use to call this impeachment inquiry a gimmick? You're just one of those people that Donald Trump said, I can shoot someone on 65th Avenue or whatever avenue he was talking about, and you would still vote for me. That's exactly who he was talking about. And when Hillary Clinton used the word deplorable, she was talking about you. Because if you call this, you can disagree. If you don't think that the president deserves to be impeached, that's fine. We can have that conversation. But to call this a gimmick when you have literally war heroes, people that have worked under the Trump administration, that are saying they had major concerns with this phone call, and you're calling their opinion a gimmick? You sound like an imbecile. JD, is this a gimmick? Is the impeachment inquiry a gimmick? These war heroes that are testifying before Congress that were under the Trump administration that heard this phone call that said they had major concerns, would you call their opinion gimmick or BS like the last caller who called in? Or is that a right-wing talking point deflecting from the actual evidence that is now coming forth?
Okay, what is the evidence coming forth, Brian?
Well, besides the transcript, you've seen the transcript, right?
Obviously,
Okay.
I've seen the transcript.
Well, Vidman has also come out and said that there were some things that were missing from the transcript. Keep in mind, this is a guy.
Okay, but he didn't explain what they were.
No, but he's testifying about
All
it.
right, so he's testifying about it,
Yep.
and they're trying to, like we discussed yesterday, they're trying to discredit his word by bringing up the fact that he moved here from the Ukraine when he was 3 years old. A gimmick is probably, I'm not even sure how that word applies in this particular situation.
No, it doesn't.
But I will agree that to an extent, the getting, being on Trump about the Mueller report for 2 years and that going.
That has nothing to do with this.
Just listen, and that going literally nowhere. That was a pretty big deal, and it was a pretty big blow to the left-wing media in particular. And I think that they're trying to do something along those lines again, but there's probably something here. I think gimmick, I think BS is probably the incorrect word. But there's, I mean, if there wasn't something here, and this is me speaking again as a Trump supporter, as a Republican, if there wasn't something here, they wouldn't be trying to discredit his word. They wouldn't be trying to leverage something like, oh, you moved here when you were 3 from the Ukraine.
Which is absurd.
You might be a Ukrainian spy. I mean,
Which is absurd and disgusting.
The guy has a Purple Heart fighting for the United States of America.
Well, that's why I call
You
Laura
know, so,
Ingraham.
gimmick BS, probably not. I think there's probably something here. I don't know what it is yet, though. And I'm not going to
All
make any assumptions based on what I don't know.
Well, you said a lot there, and we'll start with the Mueller report. You said that it went nowhere.
It did.
There are a lot of people that would disagree with you on that.
Based
There are at
on
least,
what?
Based on the fact that there are at least 10 instances of obstruction in that report. So I think a lot of people would disagree with you that it went quote-unquote
Okay,
nowhere.
well, it was supposed to be this huge deal, and it ended up this deal where the guy who actually, the name Mueller, Robert Mueller, he went up there. He didn't even know what he was talking about. It was a very, very embarrassing testimony. It didn't help anybody, particularly the left wing. It actually helped Donald Trump quite a bit.
but-
it didn't go where people wanted.
well,
It was.
I don't
it
wanna
was-
go back and
It was
talk
supposed
about
to
the
be
Mueller
this
report, but-
big explosion, and it was a very, very minor.
I don't want to go back
blow
and
up.
dissect the Mueller report. All I'm simply saying is when you defined it as going nowhere, I would disagree with you.
And I'm
We could agree-
explaining why.
We could agree to disagree on that, but I want to talk about this specific issue. And when we come back, I want to talk about how people, and you just alluded to it, and I'm glad you did, people that are attacking Alexander Vindman. Okay, we have some audio to play for you, and it is unbelievably disgusting. And I call Laura Ingraham a racist pig and a racist witch
At
every
least-
day.
I mean, at least twice a week.
yeah, because she is.
Every day is probably a stretch, but whenever her name
because she is.
in the news and
Because
it's
she is.
worthy of discussing, you definitely call her a racist pig at least once.
Oh, because she
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
Because she is. And by the way, the guy she said to shut up and dribble, he sent out some taco trucks on his own dime to those first responders in California.
Yeah,
but Laura Ingraham will never talk about that. We got to take a break.
But after the China thing, LeBron's got a lot of work to do.
Well, we got to take a break. I don't see Laura Ingraham doing that for California. We'll take a quick break, and we'll talk about Laura Ingraham and how all these Republicans are going after Alexander Vindman, and it is disgusting. We'll take a break. Be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take.